Happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy hump day. This is officially the first day of Novel and Story Writing 101. I'm so happy to have you all here. Hopefully you have registered for the class. You're in. You have gotten your syllabus. You're all straight and ready for today. We're going to basically use today as like just a going over the syllabus, going over the things that are required of you. Make sure you have any questions that can be answered so you're on track to get the first week done and feel like you can get the first assignment completed this week. So it's going to be basically a overview today, and going over things that you guys need to know, things you need to be prepared for so you can be ready for the class and ready for everything that you need to know. So don't forget, make sure you've gone to the Discord, make sure you download the syllabus, make sure you've gotten everything you need, make sure you introduce yourself in there so you've gotten started in there as well, and so you can have a good fresh start for the week. So again, today is going to be like a hefty day. It's just mainly to go over syllabus information, requirements from you, what I expect from you as a student in the class, and what I'm hoping you're going to get out of the class too over the next 8 weeks, so you can get your foundations done for storytelling and story writing and feel like you have a good grasp of the content, understanding of which one you're going to do, which actual genre you're going to choose, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, or poetry, so you can have your mindset for which one. Now, last night I mentioned one of the viewers asked if they can do more than one area, and you definitely can. You can do fiction and poetry, or nonfiction and poetry, or fiction and nonfiction. You can choose to do more than one, but what I recommend is just try to do one first and see if you're comfortable with that and getting that done, and then choose another one if you want. Because a lot of times what happens is we get very excited about starting a new program and getting into it, and we're excited to accelerate and do our thing in it, and we get really over anxious to do the work, right? But sometimes we can put ourselves ahead a little too much and we get overwhelmed with what we choose. So rather than choosing too much and feeling like you can't complete that over the next few weeks, I'd rather you guys at least get one assignment done first and then see if you want to do the second assignment for one of the other genres. And that way you can feel like, okay, it's not going to be overwhelming to do these assignments over the next few weeks. I can get it done. I don't have to feel like it's going to, overextend me or, take too much of my time. I want you guys to be able to use your time effectively and wisely so you can get it done in a good manner, but don't feel like it's going to overtake your life or overtake your day-to-day work and things that you have to do. If you ever feel like that, take a break from it. Take a break from it for a little bit. Don't force yourself to just get it all done in one night or 1 hour. And I highly recommend that you don't try to do everything Sunday night before midnight to get everything in, right? Most of my students in my regular college days, they'll wait till Sunday and just try to do it all Sunday. I highly recommend that you guys definitely take your time to get the assignments done, because you want to reflect on it. Keep in mind, I'm not grading your assignments, I'm grading your reflections on those assignments. So you want to make sure you at least have a good foundation for that assignment, understand it, so you can actually write a strong reflection in the Discord community and in the forum and in the discussion posts, so it shows that you actually reflected on the work that you guys did. So welcome everyone to the live. Good afternoon. I'm used to saying either good morning or good evening. It's good to see all of you. Hopefully you're a part of the Discord group. Can you go to the bathroom? You're more than welcome to go to the bathroom whenever you want, as long as it's not on live and you're not showing us the actual process. We're good. So you're more than welcome to take this as you go. Now, keep in mind, we're going to be meeting on Wednesdays at 3 and Sundays at 4. You do not have to come to both. You can come to both, but both will be there to help you ask questions, to answer them. I'm doing both days just in case for some reason you can't make it to the Wednesday one, or you have work, or you have other classes, or you have other things to do. So I allowed the Sunday to be another optional class that you can take and do. Now, keep in mind, I'm on here live every day. So if for some reason you miss one of the sessions that we have and you can't make it, you can come to one of the other sessions and interact with us there and ask your questions there. I don't mind you popping in on the other lives to ask your questions. Don't feel like you can only come to the times that we have and interact with me and feel like you get a good grasp on the things that you need to do. Feel free to pop in the other lives and ask your questions too. You're more than welcome to be a part of it. So I want you guys to know that this is mainly meant to be a open kind of relaxed class. I don't want you to feel pressured. I don't want you to feel like this is something that you're like, oh my God, I'm failing this class, I'm not doing well. This is why, again, you're not being graded on the assignments. You're being graded on the actual reflections, because I don't want you to feel pressure to get this assignment in and turn it in and just get it in rather than putting your actual full effort into it. Because if you're taking this class, it's because you want to write. You want to become a writer. You want to write fiction, nonfiction, or poetry. You want to actually start collecting work and writing your first chapter and getting your content out there and growing your audience and growing your readership, right? So it's not really about the grade in this class. It's about learning to develop habits, develop storytelling habits, develop being able to understand what makes a strong story, strong storytelling elements, so you can know that there's strong storytelling elements for you and for what you're going to create. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for the gifts. And it's meant to help you understand the foundations of storytelling, right? So it's not really meant to be like, hey, yes, I got an A in this class, I'm passing. Because we all know that you can get good or bad grades, and it doesn't really dictate how well you're going to do in that section or in that field. So I'm a big believer, even as a regular English professor, that grades are not always the best way of telling someone how well they're going to do in something. So that's why for this class, you won't be graded in A's, B's, C's, or F's, or things like that. Instead, you're going to get feedback from me in the actual discussion post. So make sure you discuss your reflect on your assignment in there so I can give you feedback in there. And you're going to actually look at your assignment more deeper into what you have. And this is why when we have our lives, I'm going to show you guys how to self-analyze your writing. So some of you may be like, well, how do I know if I'm doing well, if I'm writing well, if you're not going to grade my assignment? Well, I'm going to show you how to actually analyze your assignment and analyze your work and analyze your writing to see if you're on the right track. So you don't need me to give you a grade, because keep in mind, I may not be the audience for your writing. I may not be the core person that's supposed to read your writing. So that's why you need to be able to analyze and reflect and ask yourself, hey, is this meeting my target demographics requirements, or what they need to read from me, what they need to see from me? Is that kind of meeting that desire of my core readership or my reader avatar? And I'm going to talk more about reader avatars as we go along too. If you guys are like, what's a reader avatar? But to quickly summarize, reader avatar is simply like a customer avatar for a business. A business usually has a customer avatar to describe who their core demographic is of who they're selling their product to. Because yes, anyone can buy their product, but they actually have a core demographic of who they're selling their product to as their main audience. Same thing as a reader. You have a core demographic of who your core readership should be. Your readership cannot be everyone, everywhere, all over the world, all languages, all ages, all races, all genders, all right? Yes, you can sell your book to anyone, and you're not saying you're limiting your book to anyone, but to make sure you hit home to your reader, the core readers who are going to be your main buyers, you need to know who your main reader avatars are. So we'll talk about that over the next couple of weeks as well, how to find your main reader avatars, how to know who they are, how to connect to them. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the heart me. So just note that I'm going to go through that with you guys. You're not going to be left stranded. You're not going to be left on your own. And anytime you don't know anything, feel free to ask questions. I'll be happy to answer them for you and make sure that you gain clarity on the things we talk about. And don't ever feel like the question you have is a dumb question. Here's what I tell people. I know people like to say there's no such thing as a dumb question, but when you've been in education for a while, you do hear dumb questions. But I promise you, if you're thinking hard about it to ask yourself, oh, that's a dumb question, it's not a dumb question. Usually dumb questions come from people who are not even giving it a thought. They're just randomly saying stuff, or they don't care about it. They're just like, whatever. Dumb questions are not dumb if you're really concerned about it and it matters to you. So don't be afraid to ask those questions, because you may not be the only one who's asking that question. You may need someone else may be like wanting to know that answer too. So that's why I say it's not, there's no such thing as dumb questions, but usually if you're thinking about it hard enough and it matters to you, it's never going to be a dumb question, because it matters to you and it's important to you to be able to move forward in the process, right? So when people say there's no such thing as dumb questions, I'm like, no, there are. But most people realize that if they're going to ask an important one, they're going to ask something that's important to them. It's not a dumb question, all right? So feel free to ask those questions. And even if you asked a dumb question, I'm not going to call you out and be like, that's a dumb question. That would be horrible for me as a professor and as an instructor. So even the dumb questions, I'll still answer them. I'm not going to be like, oh, that's silly. But just make sure you stay on track. Like, don't be asking me, hey, like, what's your horoscope? What do you do in your free time? Like, make sure we stay on class topics when it's class time like this, so you can stay on here for your time, because I know your time's valuable. I know you're here because you need something, you want to learn something, and you want to walk away from this class knowing how to write your story. So I want to respect your time. I'm going to respect everyone's time in this class, and I hope you'll respect my time as well, so we can have mutual respect in this class and learn from each other. Because yes, I'm teaching you story writing, but I learn from you guys just as much as you learn from me. You guys may have other experiences and other worldly knowledge that I don't know about, and you can bring that to the discussion as well. So don't feel like you're limited in being a part of the conversation when it comes to storytelling and novel writing in this class. So I appreciate all of you for being here, and yeah, thank you. So thank you. Yeah, everyone liked the live. You're getting good information from this, and it's helping you. You're welcome, Ginger. You're welcome. And if some of you are here and you have not registered for the class yet, the link is in my bio. First link there. It's not too late to be a part of it. Join the Discord server. It's called the Storytellers Tea Room. All right. And like I said, you're going to be doing assignments each week, depending on what you choose, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, or poetry. That'll be your core assignment. But what you're going to actually be graded on will be your reflection on that assignment. All right. So as long as you give the reflection, that's due by Sunday by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All times that I give you guys will always be Eastern Standard Time. I'm here in Florida, so I'm on the East Coast. So Eastern Standard Time for every time I give you. So we meet here at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All of your work being due by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So keep that in mind when you guys do your times, because you're all over the world, all over the country. I want you guys to make sure you're consistent with delivering your content and delivering your reflection by Sunday by 11:59 p.m. That way I have time to answer all of your questions, to reflect on your reflections, and help you gain feedback that way and help you in that capacity. All right. So now let's go over the syllabus and talk about it, because that's the main thing I want to do today, so you guys can have an idea of what everything is done for, why it's there, and why we're utilizing certain things within that syllabus. So I'm going to be opening this up. If you have it in front of you, you can open it up as well. If you don't worry. You don't have to read it. I'm not going to test you guys on it. I just want you to have it available to you, so as we go through each week, you can connect to it and know exactly what we're going to be doing in this class, so you don't feel lost or feel like you have to play catch up at any time. You'll always know what's expected of you in this class, and feel like you're a part of the community and a part of the experience. So let me open this up. All right, here we go. All right, let's see. Make sure it's the right one, too. Let me open the PDF version as well, so I have both open. Let's see. There we go. Novel and Story Writing 101. And again, if you guys don't have the syllabus, go to the Discord. On the left-hand side, you'll see the form that says Novel and Story 101, Story Writing 101. The syllabus is the very first post, so scroll to the bottom of the first post. It'll be in PDF format. Just download that PDF document, and you'll have it for sure. So let's see. I know some of you wrote some stuff on it. And thank you for liking the lives. You guys are so awesome. How do you join the Discord? It won't let me in. Okay, so this happened last night. Open it in a new browser. Try to see if you can copy it and paste it in a new browser. And some people said doing it that way, that helped. Some people were having problems opening it and just clicking it and having it open up. See if you can copy the link and paste in a brand new browser. That may help too. So if you're having issues with that, that may be something. Hey, Real Deal, how are you? Okay, I'm getting to your questions. You missed it, PoChap. Oh, you missed it last night? No worries, no worries. Like, today we're just playing catch up and talking about the main things. And this is actually the official first day of first class. So you guys have not missed anything. You're all good. Where can you find the syllabus? Again, it's in the Discord channel. So click my face up in the corner. First link in the bio. It'll say beacons.ai with my full name. Click on that. Open that up. the first link on there should say the Storyteller's Tea Room. Keep in mind, it has an optional upsell on there if you guys want to have a world building and storytelling Bible that's on there. You do not have to buy that. It is a free community. You can just join without buying that, but that is there if you guys want to buy that resource. It is not required to join. You do not have to purchase anything to join this community. It's a free community. This is a free class. So just keep in mind, when you see that, you do not have to check the box that you want to add that to your thing or add that to your purchase. It's a free purchase. It's continue the checkout straight through and you'll be a part of the Discord, and then copy that link, paste it into a new browser. And again, if you don't have a Discord, like a Discord account, make sure you create one so you can be a part of the community and join that for sure. So I need a YouTube. I know. Actually, I'm glad you said that. So this is another thing. If you guys ever miss Wednesdays or Sundays session in the Discord, I'm going to be posting up links of the class. So when we're done with this, after I've downloaded, I'm going to upload it onto YouTube. Give me about 24 hours to do that, just in case I don't have time to do it that day. But within about 24 hours, you should have the replay up so you guys can see the replay in YouTube. Again, go to Discord and I'll have a place where you can see the actual replay links for all the classes. So if you miss anything, don't worry. You're still on track. You're all good and you'll be okay. All right. So let's go over the syllabus today. And the main things that I want you guys to note about the assignments. All right, so you'll notice that this is what the syllabus looks like. I'm going to show you. This is what your syllabus will look like. All right. All right, nice formatted. It actually looks like a real syllabus because it is a real syllabus. So, all right, so you'll see that it's broken down by weeks. All right, and like I said, this is like an 8-week commitment, right? And keep in mind, like, if you guys fall off track, like, I'm not going to come at you. I'm not going to be, how dare you not submit your work this week? Like, you're going to fail this course. Like, you are meant to do this in your own time, right? But I want you to kind of make a commitment to yourself. If you want to get this done and you want to actually learn from this course, I recommend that you try to stay on track, right? And I try to make the assignments so they're not extensive, so you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to do this 10-page paper. Nothing's ever that long. At the most, the biggest is like 500, 750 words as we get deeper into it. And trust me, when you start writing double space, that comes really quickly. So each assignment is accessible. It's not going to take over your time or your day. You should be able to knock it out within an hour or two at the most. And that's for the whole week. That's not an hour or two commitment per day or anything like that. But give yourself time. Like, don't try to do it Sunday night before it's due and like try to get it all in and rushing in, because then you don't have time to think about your writing, your storytelling, and then going into the discussion and actually thinking about it. I'd rather you guys try to get the assignment done throughout the week, and then when Sunday comes, you actually have thought about it, you've had time to let it sit with you for a bit, and now you can go in and actually reflect on what it was like, the challenges, the successes, the things that you did. Now keep in mind, the first discussion post isn't about your actual assignment. It's actually about your inspirations for storytelling, because a lot of times we forget what our inspirations are when it comes to why we wanted to be a writer in the first place, right? Who maybe have, initiated our calling to be a writer, to be an author. And a lot of times it's one book or one author in general, or a certain type of genre that got us into it. And it can really spark the need to want to write something, right? Because you see what other writers have done and you want to do that too. You're like, this is amazing. I would love to do something like this. So our storytelling experience really starts with our creativity and our inspiration that we get from other people that ignites us to want to be writers ourselves, right? So thank you guys for the likes and the follows. I appreciate it. So you have to do browse channels. Once you're in there, it is under text channels. Okay, awesome. So you click browse channels, you can find it. So that's a good tip. So I'm going to pin that, Mama. Thank you for putting that there. There you go. So if you guys can't find it, do browse channels and you'll be able to find it on the left-hand side, because there's a lot of channels in there. So browse channels so you can kind of find it, and you should be able to find it that way. Thanks for that tip, Mama. We appreciate it. All right, so let's go over what this is. So if you see, it says at the top, you have my name. I'm your professor, Tamara Archuleta Martin, 8 weeks. And as I mentioned, each post, discussion post, is due by Sunday by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so the times we have always going to be Eastern Standard Time. Then note the course objective. It says equip participants with foundational writing skills in fiction, nonfiction, and poetry, culminating in a polished first chapter of creative work. So I want to enhance that first chapter, because a lot of times people see novel and story writing 101. Okay, we're going to get a whole novel done in 8 weeks. Oh my gosh, no, I would never force you to try to force a novel out of you in 8 weeks. If you can do that, that's more power to you. I'm all for you writing as much as you want over the course of the next few weeks. Even if it goes beyond what I give you. If you still feel inspired to keep writing, keep writing. Don't stop yourself just because you met the requirement, because this is another reason why I'm not grading your assignment. I'm not putting a limit on your word count and what you do, because I want you to be inspired by these posts and these prompts. When you find that assignment and you're able to write with it, go with it and go with the flow with it and follow that inspiration, because that's what's going to keep you writing and keep you excited to write, because you're getting that inspiration. That way, the next time you don't have the inspiration, you can remember that feeling and try to utilize tools to help you get back into that mindset of finding inspiration as you're writing. All right. So for week 1, you'll notice that each week, again, each assignment is broken down by your chosen genre. So if you chose fiction, you'll see what you have to do for fiction. If you chose nonfiction, you'll see what you have to do for nonfiction. And if you chose poetry, you'll see what you have to do for poetry. So again, if you want to do more than one, you are welcome to. Like I mentioned last night, if you're going to choose, like say you want to choose poetry and fiction, you want to get both of those done. When you do your response and your reflection on Sunday, just make sure you're creating one post under your same name, and then you'll do a reflection for each one. All right. But like I said, try and test it. And for some reason you feel like it's overwhelming to stick with 2 or 3 of them, don't feel like you have to stick with 2 or 3 of them. Stick with the one that you originally wanted to choose. If it was fiction, poetry, or nonfiction, stick with that for the 8 weeks. Because I can tell you, it feels like it may be doable if you choose both now. But in week 3 or 4, you may be like, oh my gosh, why did I choose both? I don't know why I did that. That was so crazy. I should have chosen one. So I recommend just feeling out one first. Like if you want to do the activity for 2, you can, but feel it out a little bit, because it may be overwhelming for you to try to do 2 or 3 of these each week. That's why I made them simple assignments, so you can get them done without feeling like it's going to overwrite your life or take over your time and be a burden to you. All right. So that's why the assignments were done that way. So keep that in mind. Hello, Lachey. It's so good to see you. How are you? We're just going over the syllabus for the novel and storytelling 101. So those of you just joining, you haven't missed anything. We're just starting. We're going over the syllabus. All right. So it says for week 1, it's the welcome and finding your spark. So remember I said the inspiration that you get from writing can really be a good foundation for you to start your journey as a writer. Think about the book that inspired you to want to be a writer. Think about the story you read that inspired you to want to be a writer. Or maybe it was a whole series. Maybe it was multiple authors. Think about why they were so influential in your decision to make that decision to become a writer. Because a lot of times knowing that, you can be like, hey, it was because I fell in love with the characters. I fell in love with their world building. I love their writing style. Maybe you love the author themselves and you connected with their background. It can be a culmination of things. It doesn't necessarily have to be one thing that inspired you. It can be multiple things that kind of added to your reason for why you chose to write. And I want you guys to hold on to that, because a lot of times when you get challenges, when you go into like different points of your writing, you're just like, oh my gosh, I suck at this. Why did I choose to become a writer? Because you'll get that point, I promise you. And I promise you as well, you do not suck as a writer. You may be at the beginning stage of writing. You may be a new writer and you haven't gotten into the tools and the elements that make you a strong writer yet. That doesn't mean you're bad. That just means you have to learn the craft more. You have to develop your storytelling abilities. So never think you're a bad writer or you're a horrible writer. Don't use that negative mindset. Instead, say, I'm growing as a writer. I'm still learning as a writer. You're still on the pathway to growing. I'm still growing as a writer. Although I'm teaching you guys this course, I'm still growing in my own elements of becoming better at my craft too. So it's never going to be a point where you stop learning in this field, because it's always changing. It's always evolving. There's always new things to learn from, other people that you can kind of grow from and learn from the field. So never feel like you're ever going to stop growing, because even if you're brand new or even if you're completely experienced and you have published works, you can always learn new things to help you become better and help you be stronger for sure. So, hey, Three Hood Mona Lisa, you roleplay right to keep your muse. Oh, I love that. That's awesome. And actually, I recommend, or forum roleplay. That's so cool. I always recommend when you guys do characterization, you'll see that when we go to the week of characterization, I'll tell you that it can help you to use those freebies in the Discord. So I have the freebies in the Discord. Download those freebies. One of them is a character profile, right? And what I tell you guys to do, if you have trouble creating that character profile, and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do this. Think about about doing an interview with your character to role play. You play the interviewer and you play the character answering the questions. And it's kind of like a role play scenario where you are both asking the questions and you're answering the questions as if the character would answer them, right? And it kind of puts you in the mindset of your character to know how would they respond to things, how would they interact with things. So I love that you mentioned role playing, because that's something you were definitely going to talk about in this class, so you guys can learn how to go deep diving into your character and learning how that character can be. Because a lot of times when you get stuck with writer's block, it's because you may not know your character well. You may think you know your character well, but if you don't have a character profile, sometimes you can be like, hey, I'm not sure what happens next. But maybe it's not about what happens next. Maybe it's about how your character responds to what happens next, how they interact to the situation that's happening around them, how they respond to it, how they use dialogue to cope with it or deal with it. And knowing your character can really help you. So role playing is really cool. So I love that you mentioned that. That's so cool. Oh, thank you so much. You love the vibes here. I appreciate you so much for that. And I love that you love the vibes here. It's meant to be a relaxed atmosphere so you guys can feel like you're learning, but it's also a fun environment. That's why I always have my headband on here. It's probably not the most professional thing to do, but you know what? I love it. It makes me happy. So I keep doing it. So you know what? It is what it is. All right. So let's look at the week so you guys can see it. And again, you don't have to have the syllabus open. I'm going to read it so you guys know what's happening. Hey, David, how are you? Hey, Deli. Did I say that right? I'm horrible with name pronunciation, so I apologize. You always got so frustrated with yourself when you got writer's block, because it's so true. Yeah, it is. It's true, right? Because when we have writer's block, it's like it puts us in a mindset like, oh, we can't do this, or we're not good enough. But keep in mind, writer's block is a normal thing. And it's not that it's a normal thing that should be normal, but it's a normal thing because sometimes we just get stuck with how we see our story. Now, that's why I say it's always good to not thinking about writing chronologically, because we feel like we have to write in a certain order because we read in a certain order. But if you write out of order, kind of write how inspiration comes to you, it's not about writer's block anymore. It's about finding the inspirational moments that are vivid and clear for you. It's not about creating content in a certain structure. And a lot of times that certain structure is too rigid for us as creative people. If we're forcing ourselves to be rigid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it takes away our creativity a bit, because now we're forcing the creativity out of us to get this chapter done. So don't force the chapters out of yourselves. Instead, write the scenes, write the dialogues, even if you don't know where they go. Even if you don't know if they go further in or in the middle, you're not sure where they go. Write them as they come and as they flow to you. So that way you feel like, okay, I'm still getting the story completed. It just may not be in chronological order, but I'm still with this character. I'm still in their journey. I'm still in their world, even though I may not be doing it in chronological order. So I'm glad you're great, David. So cool to see you. You're fine. You're there finally. Yay, Ginger. Yay. Okay. All of you who are in, I'm so glad you're in. That makes me so happy, because I know it was hard to get in. I apologize for the invalid link. Like I said, Discord. But I love Discord structure, but I just get annoyed with that link thing. So I'm glad you're in. I'm so happy. You had to understand them and allow them to speak. Does that sound weird? And yes, no, that is not weird at all. Here, look, I will tell you. I call myself crazy for a reason, because I know I'm a very weird person. In my family, we like to talk to ourselves, but it's not that we're talking to ourselves. Normally, when you see people talking to themselves, it's not that they're talking to themselves because they're actually crazy or so-called crazy. They are imagining a conversation, and it's a way of processing information, because you're imagining a conversation you're having with someone, maybe in the future, and kind of preparing for that conversation, or imagining how that conversation will go, right? They're not really talking. Now, sometimes they may be talking to someone. If they're like on the street and maybe holding a bottle or something, I can't say they're not talking to someone. But when we talk to ourselves, or you see us talking to ourselves, it's because it's our brain trying to process information by utilizing our motor features, right? So next time you talk to someone, talk to your characters, or feel like you're having a conversation with them, that doesn't make you insane. That doesn't make you weird. It makes you a creative writer. That's all it does. So never feel bad about talking to your characters, having them talk back to you. Like, you will have your characters talk to you, and they will argue with you. They'll be like, that is not my story. What the hell are you doing? You better take that back. They will come to you because keep in mind, story writing is a very, and again, I'm not sure your religious beliefs. I'm not honing on religion or anything at all. But if you understand how emotional transference is done, Emotional transference is a real thing, right? That's why when we read things, we cry, we laugh, we experience things that are emotional because it's an emotional thing we're feeling from the author. So if you believe in that and know that we can feel emotions from our books and our stories, then it makes sense that we can connect with our characters and feel like they're real people that we want to talk to and converse with and learn from, because we're creating these characters as if they're real people. So never feel bad for talking to your characters. Never feel weird or quirky. And if anyone ever comes at you and say, why are you talking to yourself? Be like, I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to my characters. This is a business conversation. Leave it alone. So you have my permission as your instructor to tell them that. All right. That is your get out of jail free card. I am doing business discussions. Leave me alone. So it is. It's true. You're writing and you're talking to your characters because it's helping you feel them out. It's helping you learn about them and know about them. So always allow yourself to talk to your characters. Don't feel weird about it. Even if you have to just do it in your head because you don't want your family to start talking about you and teasing you. That's fine too. But don't feel bad about actually talking to them out loud. That can be a creative process that helps you. And also don't feel weird if you want to take on their persona and talk back. Yeah, it may feel like you're a little schizophrenic a little bit, but hey, who's to say that we are or aren't anything? This is why I like to claim the word crazy, because I feel like there's no such thing as normal in this society. I feel like we've standardized normal as a thing that no one can ever reach. So I feel like normalcy is never a thing, especially if you're a creative person. So you guys are very welcome to be as free and welcoming as you want with your characters. It always works for you when you go back and read some chapters. You take small part and work. That's awesome. I love that. And that's why I tell you guys to sit on your work when you write, because sitting on it and coming back to it will help you see it differently. So that's awesome. I love that. You're in, Nana. Awesome. I'm so glad you're in. Yeah, there's a copy of the syllabus in the Discord. So on the left, and make sure you open the browser window so you can see all the browsers or all the channels. Sorry. So expand the channels on the left. Someone mentioned that tip earlier, and make sure you look for ENC. I teach ENC regularly. So if you guys ever hear me slip and see ENC and you're like, what's ENC? That's my real day job class that I teach. But look for Novel and Storytelling 101. That's the form. And then the syllabus is in that form right there. So you'll be good. So you're awesome. So glad you're in. Yay. Yeah, you're very welcome. I want you all to feel comfortable here for sure. Hey there. First time here. Welcome, Afro. You are welcome to be a part of it. You all are welcome here. So, and you're here for the first time. You're not behind. You can join. You can join the Discord. That link is updated. But you know what? I'm going to do something better because I don't want you guys to have to go through any craziness. I'm going to go back to the Discord link. I'm going to post it right here just to make it a little bit easier. There we go. Pin that comment for you. So that is the link to the Discord if you guys want to join and be a part of this community and a part of the syllabus that I'm going over right now. So you're more than welcome to join and be a part of this class. You're all good. A business conversation. I know, right? Because keep in mind, this is your business. And this is why I'm going to teach you guys, because yes, we're creative people. We're writing creatively. But if you want to make an actual career or hobby out of this, you've got to think about this as a business. And to think about it as a business, you're having business conversations. So next time someone bothers you and saying, you're talking to yourself, no, I'm having business conversations. Leave me alone. Let it be. So that's my advice to you guys for sure. It's business conversations. You're making money with your characters. That's what you're doing. So you're very welcome, guys. Okay, good. It let you join. Awesome. So glad you're in. Yay. Okay, more cheers. Yay. Okay, so now we're going over the syllabus. Like I said, it's in the Discord. Expand the channel so you can see all the channels that are there, and look for Novel and Storytelling 101. First post. Syllabus is in that first post. Discussion. Don't do the discussion until you've done the assignment. So keep that in mind. No discussion post until you completed the assignment. All right. Make sure you got that. All right. You're late to the party. Don't worry. You're not late to the party, actually. Yeah, you're not late to the party at all. You're right on time to the party. The party's just getting started. Oh, thank you, Charin. I appreciate that. You are wonderful, too. Yay, Jamie, you're joined. Okay, awesome. It's a pleasure to have all of you in. I hope to have all of you be a part of it. And like I said, this is meant to be a low-pressured class. It's not meant to be, how dare you didn't submit your work. You're failing this class. That is a very negative kind of structure for teaching, right? And the same thing with grading. That's why I'm not grading you guys guys on the A-B structure, because let's say your essay isn't as good as it could be, or your story isn't as strong as it could be. That doesn't mean it can't be better. So we all have to start somewhere. You may be beginning. Beginning is a great place to start, guys. So don't knock yourself because you feel like it's a poor writing story, or you're not doing well, or you feel like it could be better, or it's too weak. You have to start somewhere. So weak is somewhere. That's somewhere. So if you start somewhere, you can always make weak stronger. Weak doesn't have to stay weak. Weak can be built on and can grow upon it, and can be a more stronger foundation for you to learn and become a stronger and better writer. So just keep that in mind. So just join the Discord, and here, I'll paste it one more time just to make sure. Because if I keep scrolling, I'm going to lose you guys. I'm going to be like, oh man, I'm not going to be able to get back on there. Let's see, hold on. Alright, it's that link right there. And I'll pin it to the top. I usually tell you guys to go to the storytelling. The reason why I have you guys go through the storytelling Discord on the actual link to join is because I want to make sure I keep track of everyone who comes in, because I don't want anyone to come in the space and ruin the space for us. I want to make sure I know who's in there. I know who you are. So if anything starts or any trouble starts, I can monitor it, because I want to make sure you guys have a safe space. So those of you who are getting the direct link, I'm trusting you guys to trust this safe space and respect it. So that's why I normally have you guys go into my actual link and sign up to get the link, because I just want to make sure that people can go in and feel like it's a comfortable space, and not just anyone and everyone can join. Anyone can join. It's not like I'm limiting you, but I want to be able to have some way to be able to monitor people coming in case we have issues or someone starts anything. Hope no one starts anything, but it's hopefully everyone's been good so far, so let's hope it keeps like that. So hey Shanice, how are you? It's good to see you. Hey Shatima, you just joined. You didn't miss anything at all. You're all good. You're all good. All of you are on time. You're right on time. You're never late. You're right on time, I promise you. And even when you come in late, I'm not going to be like, how dare you come in late to class. You're good. Like I said, this is meant to be a relaxed atmosphere. All right, so let's go with the first week so you guys know what's happening. So for fiction assignment, for my fiction writers who are on here, you will be writing a 100-word summary of your novel idea focusing on character, conflict, and stakes. So what do I mean by that? You want to essentially think about this as your blurb. Act like you're writing a blurb for your story. Now, I know you may be like, I don't know my story yet, but this is what I want to tell you guys, and I think this is kind of interesting. A lot of people don't think about this. Before I even write my stories as an author, I write my blurbs first. I act like I know exactly what's going to happen to my characters, and I know how their story's going to end, and I write the blurb. Why? It gives me a foundation, almost like an outline, to have a structure for when I'm writing my scenes. Now, I don't know every single scene that's going to happen. I don't know everything, but because I write romance, I know one thing. I know my characters will have a happy ending, or happily ever after. I know they will end up together, so at least I know that foundation. Now, I may not know how they get there, or the challenges and struggles that lead them there, but I at least know how my story ends based on me writing romance, right? So this is why I say it's important to know the genre you're writing in. Doesn't matter what genre you guys choose, by the way, too. I'm not forcing you to choose a certain genre. It's up to you. Fantasy, romance, horror. You guys choose what you want to write. Choose the thing you're the most passionate about, and that's the one you should choose. All right? So for that 100-word blurb, and I'm telling you 100 words because I want you guys to have a concise consistency for what you're writing. Yes, you can write more, but challenge yourself to stay in that 100 words first, and then for a side project, you can say, let me expand this to, 250 or 500, and that's fine. But for the assignment, I want you to focus on just keeping it at 100 words, because you need to be able to tell the character, the conflict, everything that happens in 100 words. Some of you may think 100 words, that's a lot to write in a story that I don't know. Some of you may think that's too little. I can't write that little, but that's the challenge. Writing the complete storytelling experience with a character and the character's journey in 100 words. So for you fiction authors, this is the challenge for you this week. Look at other blurbs that are in your genre. Go on Amazon. Look at other blurbs that are in your fantasy, in your horror genre, in your romance genre, and look and see how they craft their blurbs. Look and see how they write them. Because I'm not going to ask you guys to do headlines and subheadlines and call to actions and stuff like that. I'm just asking you to write 100 words that's focusing on your character, conflict, and story. That's all. All right? Because of that, that's why it's so short, because you're focusing on the core central conflict. Now, this may change over time as you write your story. It's not going to stay that way. You may have more, or it may shift, but have something something to start with so you can actually feel like you know where to begin your storytelling experience over the next few weeks. All right, so that's why we're starting with the blurb for you fiction authors. All right, so keep that in mind. Oh, you have to go to your Spanish class. No worries, no worries. This will be recorded. It's recorded. I'm going to be putting the replay in the actual Discord, so don't worry if you guys have to leave early or if you came late. You will be able to see it for sure. So, yeah, you're very welcome. Go ahead and enjoy it. You don't have to upload your blurb. You just have to do it, and you're going to be responding to the actual discussion, user discussion post to respond to it. So don't worry. You're going to be self-reflecting on the blurb in your actual reflection, so you're all good. So take care, Deli. Madison, is the blurb what would be on the back of the book jacket? Exactly. The blurb or the 100-word tagline is what you would normally see when you're selling the book, right? Now, normally blurbs are anywhere between, and I'll let you guys know, it's normally between 250 to 500 words. You have more to work with. But here's the thing. If I tell you to write 500-word blurb right now and you don't know your story, that's going to put you in a conundrum of like, well, what happens next? And then what happens next? And then, oh my God, I don't know. But you don't know yet because you're just writing your first chapter. This is a first chapter class. So that's why I'm giving you the guideline of 100 words. It doesn't feel too much. Some of you may be too little, but like hold yourself back. I know you feel like you want to write a whole lot more. That's great though. If you want to write a lot more and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish this was longer. That's amazing. That just means you have the inspiration to keep writing. But hold yourself back for a little bit to kind of meet that 100-word guideline, because keep in mind, there will be some places where you have to submit your blurb and they'll ask for only 50 words or 100 words or, a fraction of what your whole blurb is. So doing this is also teaching you guys how to be concise about the core things in your story, the core points in your story that are important to your reader to be able to connect emotionally to your character. Because keep in mind, I don't care what you guys write. You can write alien adventures, fantasy with more, hobbits and fae, just like Lord of the Rings. You can write, dark, crazy, thriller, suspense. All of it is about characterization. So you have to ask yourself, what is this character about? What is their conflict? What are they trying to do? Are they trying to survive the night so they can get through another day and survive and make their way to class or make their way to work or make their way to the altar, like The Hangover, right? The whole Hangover was like them doing like bachelor party stuff, but it was crazy stuff that was keeping them from actually getting to the wedding, right? It was like, oh my gosh, we're not going to make this because all this crazy stuff is happening. And also the next day, we don't know what the hell happened that led up to this point. So it's like a flashback of them going back to revisit the time over the nights, right? So every story though, no matter how crazy it is, even if your story is as crazy as The Hangover, it's still about the characters, because at the core of The Hangover, it's a buddy love movie, right? It really is a buddy love movie. Even if you see all the craziness and all the, Mike Tyson and the Tigers and, Ken coming in and doing weird stuff, it's still a buddy movie and a love movie at the core of it. And this is why I recommend that you guys read Blake Snyder's Save the Cat. He talks about that. He talks about, although buddy love isn't romantic love, it still has the structure of romantic love, because it's still you fighting for someone you care about, being there for that person, and having a similar structure to romance, right? That's why we call it buddy romance or buddy love. It's not that it's sensual or sexual in any way, but it's still a romantic tie-in that's an emotional tie-in to the characters. So whatever you guys are writing, it's still coming back to the characters and who they are and what their ultimate goal is in your story. All right, so that's important to know. Thanks for the follows, guys. Can I confirm the definition of a blurb? Yeah, sure. That is not a silly question at all. So blurb is whatever you guys see that gives you a brief summary of what the story is about. It's usually found on the back cover of a book. When you go into Amazon or something like that, it'll be in the description. That's the blurb. It can be as short or as long as the author wants. Now, normally I tell you guys to use the space when you're actually ready to publish, because blurbs are descriptions that are basically going to give you keyword ability to be searched and found. Now, we're not really talking about publishing in this course, but I will mention things like that so you guys can get kind of takeaways. So if you decide to self-publish, you know things like that. Your blurb is not just describing your story when you're actually publishing. You are using that blurb with keywords, things that connect to your genre, so readers know exactly what kind of book they're getting involved in. So that is helping you get in search and ranked on Amazon. That's helping you being found, because keep in mind, Amazon is one of the biggest search engines in the world. Up there with Google, up there with YouTube, up there with Pinterest. It is a big search engine first. So if it's a big search engine, you want to make sure you're ranking on a big search engine by using keywords to your benefit. This is why titles and subtitles are so important. This is why I tell people not to use, like, just read random creative subtitles and titles for your books. Yeah, you may say like if I were to say The Hangover, you know exactly what I mean, right? Because we know The Hangover. But if nobody knew what The Hangover was and I called my book The Hangover, you'd be like, what is this? Is this a romance? Is this about someone getting drunk and, like, sobering up? Is it about addiction, right? You don't know what it's about just by naming something The Hangover without you having the context of that series in your mind, right? So think of it that way. If you name something so obscure like that and people don't know what it's about, they're not going to know to buy it because they'll be like, what genre is The Hangover? Is it a murder mystery because someone got drunk and off someone? Is it about, again, addiction and them getting over being, an alcoholic? Is it about, an actual one-night stand that happened when they were hungover? Like, what is it? You don't know. So knowing your titles and being clear in your titles and subtitles are going to be really important to make sure. Hold on, I have this puzzle to do. This always pops up randomly. Didn't pop up last night for some reason. It pops up at random times. But anyway, titles and sometimes are so important. So when you're doing your blurb, you don't have to focus on keywords right now. I don't want you guys to think about that and be like, oh my gosh, what keywords do I use? That's just something to think about later on when you're ready to actually publish. Right now, I want you to just focus on character and conflict and your story. Now, like I said, it can change later. You don't have to keep it the same. Don't feel like, oh my gosh, this is concrete. It is written in stone. You are meant to evolve the story any way you want. So write your blurb the best way you can. Focus on a central character. Even if you want to write an ensemble of characters, try to focus on one or two main characters as your main goal, right? Now, normally when you have a main character, a protagonist is the main way of calling it. Normally the protagonist is named the hero, and the antagonist is normally the villain. You can ask yourself, who is the villain of this story? You don't have to mention them in this blurb if you don't want to, but you can if you want to kind of show the dynamic of what's happening in the story. So you can ask yourself, who's the antagonist of the story? And is it another person? It doesn't have to be a human. It can be an alien. It can be, themselves, them fighting with their own internal conflict, them struggling, like we mentioned, addiction. If you have addiction, you're struggling with addiction, you're fighting against yourself and your own internal struggles, right? So now you're your own protagonist and antagonist. So your antagonist doesn't always have to be another person. It can be them fighting with themselves and having their own internal struggles too. So ask yourself, what is the conflict of this story? What do you hope to actually be the conflict that keeps them from reaching their goal? Because the whole reason someone has a villain or an antagonist, because they're keeping them from their goal. If my goal is to marry my husband and I want to get there to the altar and my ex comes back and tells me he still loves me, he is now the antagonist of the story because he's keeping me from my goal of marrying the guy that I want to marry at the end, right? If I want to get a job and the boss is or not letting me, maybe rise in the ranks or get a promotion or something like that, and they're keeping me and stalling me and doing everything to destroy my life while I'm on the job, kind of like The Devil Wears Prada, right? It's kind of like that, making everything hellish for the person. Then that person becomes my antagonist, right? Now, they don't always have to be 100% evil. Don't feel like antagonist means they are completely evil. Keep in mind, even villains are the heroes of their own stories. They think they're doing something good because they don't see it as evil. They don't see it as, oh, I'm doing bad things. Villain doesn't see what they're doing as bad. What they see is doing something that's protecting either them or the world or protecting society, right? Even Thanos in the Avengers. He wasn't trying to kill people to hurt them and harm them. He believed that by sacrificing a few, you're saving the others. And you have to sacrifice those few to save the rest of the world. So deep at the core, he wasn't trying to be an evil villain. Yes, he was doing bad things to get there. But even he was trying to see things of, I'm saving the world. You may not think I'm saving the world, but I'm saving the world by doing these things, right? So every villain has a reason behind why they're making those decisions, whether they were bullied as a kid, whether something turned them sour, the society did not treat them well, and they have a negative viewpoint of the world. Villains don't come out the womb being villains, right? They don't wake up and be like, hey, I hate people, right? Something happens to us that triggers us into a certain mindset to make us think that we have to be against the world or against society or do something that's helping us because no one else is going to help us but ourselves, right? So something did that or triggered that person to be that way, to turn into a villain. right? And even at the end, they may not always be a villain. They may be redeemed in the end, right? They may become a friend rather than a foe. That happens too. But just know, even a villain has their own reasons for being a villain. They're not necessarily a villain. So ask yourself who the antagonist is in your story that's going to be the opposition of your protagonist, keeping them from their ultimate goal, whether it's finding romance, whether it's saving the world, whether it's destroying the aliens, whether it's, eliminating the plague that's taking over the world, or destroying the zombie apocalypse and keeping the zombies from, eating all the humans and destroying all humanity. Whatever it is, whether it's an external thing or an internal thing, ask yourself what that opposition is. That's going to help you for sure. Can we use a story already written and not just officially published? Okay, so that is a good question, Lisa. I would rather you guys start new. And the reason why I want you to start new, I want you to see how storytelling is built up from the ground up and how we're doing this class. Now, you can still take the things that I teach you and go back to your story and apply that to your stories. I have no problem with that. But for the sake of this class, I'd rather it be brand new because I want you to see how to start your story from beginning into the first chapter and leading into the first chapter. If you've already written a book, you've already written the first chapter, so you're going to be going on and revising, so it's a different approach. Starting a new story is a different approach for this because now you're starting a brand new imaginative concept. So that's why I kind of want you guys to have a brand new story idea for this. So good question. Hey, Mercedes, it's good to see you. Hey, Cassie. I know you guys were talking on here, so I apologize. I'm glad you're uploading the classes because I keep having to leave during work meetings. You're good. You're good. Don't feel like you guys have to be on here the whole time. I understand. You're not late, Brandon. You're just on time. You're all good. Don't worry at all. You guys are all on time. Hey, Ginger, you're really in class right now. Yeah, I know, right? This is a real class. I'm literally going to teach you guys concepts to help you become better storytellers. So, yes, you may not learn everything you need to know from me, and I don't expect you to. Like I said, learning is a journey. You guys becoming a strong storyteller is a journey. So don't feel like you have to learn everything from me in the next 8 weeks. You're not going to get everything from me in the next 8 weeks. What I want you to get from me is what you need to get from me to go to the next level in your writing. That's why I said this is for everyone. Beginning, expert, no matter where you are in the spectrum of writing, you can still use this class to start your journey for sure. Thank you for the clarification. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Let's see. Will the blurb be a good place to bring our reader in? Yeah, you can, because you're talking, keep in mind, you're acting like this is kind of like a marketing place to pull them in and get them engaged, right? So you can be like, you can open it with like you would a regular marketing piece if you want to, but I don't expect you guys to start like you would a regular description or blurb, like, what will happen in the end of this story? Will he survive, or will he make it to the end? Like, you don't have to have that kind of wording to pull the reader in like you would a regular description, because that's more like advertising blurbs and advertising lingo to pull the reader in. You guys don't have to use that. Instead, I want you to focus on basically the character and the character's conflict and the storytelling experience of that character. That's mainly what I want you guys to do. That's why you only get 100 words. If I wanted you to do more than that, I would give you a lot more, because 100 words, I promise you, is not a lot to do this in. But I'm forcing you guys to do this because I want you to force yourself to think about the character, the whole purpose in their story, their whole journey, and what's keeping them from reaching that journey. Because that opposition is going to be so important, because that's where you get conflict. There's no conflict in a story if they can't work for what they want, right? If they can't work for it and they just get it easily, your stories can become boring. Because if I easily get my husband, I'm like, oh, he's right there. He's amazing. He's awesome. He's like 100% perfect in everything I ever wanted. Oh my gosh. You kind of want to hate that person a little bit, right? Like, I don't like you right now because you have a perfect life. And it's kind of like thing when you see a perfect person and you're just like, yeah, I don't believe that's perfect. I don't think that's perfect. Like, you say it's perfect, but I don't know if that's really perfect. No one's really perfect. Same thing with your story. You don't want a perfect story. You want a messy, muddy, crazy story, because that's what's going to create conflict for your character and make your character work for what they want. So when they finally get it at the end, or don't get it at the end, there's a reason for it. But when they get it, it's worth the journey because they worked so freaking hard for it. So when they get to the end of it, it's like, oh my gosh, you went through battles, you went through life and death experiences, you lost people along the way. All this stuff happened for you to get this. but it was worth it because you got it, and now you got what you needed to get to the next level in your life, right? That's why conflict is so important to a story. You don't want it to come easy to your character. You want them to work so freaking hard for it, it feels like they could die trying to get it, because that's what life is like. Life is hard, life is messy, life is crazy, and it needs to be that way for your character because they're human characters. Now, even if you have aliens, even if all your characters are aliens or different species, they're still human in how they interact with each other. They have human personalities, they have human languages or dialogue. They're still human at the core of whatever they are. Even if you're writing about vampires or shifters, I don't care what species you're writing about, they're still human if they're interacting like a human. So you still have to treat them like a human character no matter what they are in your novel or your characterization. Let's see. Okay, all good. Your blurb is intriguing but vague. All right, I mean, that can work. I will say this, though. Ask yourself, though, when you're vague, do your reader know why you're being vague? Because a lot of times being vague, it's like you're trying to... This is where vagueness comes from. I'll give you the core reason why we're being vague. We want to give mystery to our reader. We're like, you need to read this book to find out. I'm not going to tell you. You have to buy it and find out, right? Which isn't a bad thing. You don't want to give everything away in your blurb. No one wants to, have spoilers. That's why people have spoiler alerts when they give, reviews, right? But here's the thing about being vague. You have to ask yourself, although I'm being kind of mysterious because I don't want to give everything away, am I being too vague where the people who are reading it are not going to be interested in my story? Because vagueness, if you're too vague and too mysterious, that can kill the vibe of your story because the reader won't know what they're reading. So I challenge you to ask yourself, okay, if you have one that's vague, challenge yourself to give one where you do give the main core of your story and you let people know what your story is about. Because you want to see the differences and see which one works better for your story. I'm not telling you kill the vagueness. I'm not telling you to stop that. Do what works for you. That's what I want you guys to realize in this class. You got to do what works for you, even though I give you advice and give you feedback and give you information. But ask yourself, hey, is this vagueness going to stop the sale of my story? Me being vague, is that going to hinder them understanding what this is about or what genre it is or where the mystery and suspense is? Are they still going to care enough about this character enough to be like, I want to buy this book? That's why you want to be careful with being too vague and too mysterious in your blurb. Right now, I don't want you guys to play games in your blurbs. I don't want you to do really manipulation in your blurb. I want you to focus mainly on telling a core concept of what your character is, who they are, and what the purpose of the story is. Don't even act like this is a selling blurb. Although I'm giving you a blurb, I'm giving you a foundation to know what this is about. Don't act like this is for your reader. Actually act like you're talking about the character, what the purpose is, what their conflict is, and what they're trying to reach, and what the goal of the story is. Act like that's the main thing that you're doing in these 100 words. Because if you try to act like, okay, this is a selling blurb, I'm going to think this way, you're putting too much pressure on yourself. I want you guys to think of this as just a way to describe your story in a few sentences so you can get to the heart of the characterization and the heart of your story. That's the whole purpose of this one. So hopefully that helps. Character, conflict, and story. Got it. Focus on the main character. Exactly. Those three things. Character, conflict, and story. And again, the conflict usually comes at the opposition. So ask yourself what's holding your character back, your main character back from getting their main goal. If it's like getting a treasure at the end of a treasure hunt, who's keeping them from getting that treasure? If it's like getting... like a certain person to fall in love with them, who's keeping them from falling in love with the person or getting to that romantic interest at the end? There's always conflict, and conflict has to come from something opposing them and working against them. All right, so that's where your conflict comes into play. Hey, love, how are you? Legendary, you're being spies on literally you just completed chapter 2 of your story. You log into TikTok and see. That's awesome. So TikTok is spying on you. Do you have the Chinese spy everyone's been teasing about on TikTok? Like, I have a Chinese spy right next to me. Apparently they're checking your storytelling abilities, so you have one right next to you. And thank you guys for the likes. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. The antagonist is God in your story. Ooh, that's a good one. Because normally people think of God as the ally or protagonist. So that's an interesting concept. I love that already. You guys are already having ideas. Look at that. That's so cool. The universe is at work. I know, right? Lex Luthor and Superman. Exactly. That's a good example. Like, when you guys get stuck on antagonist and protagonist kind of abilities, think superhero movies. They're the best examples of antagonists and protagonists. But also, keep in mind, from the villain's perspective, the heroes are their enemies. The heroes are keeping them from their goal. So it's reverse if you switch it and your villain becomes the hero of your story, and the heroes are actually the villains, right? So that's why I say, villainous or protagonist and antagonist is very subjective, because we always like to think we know who the villain is. It's not always that clear who the villain is. If you were to switch the story in reverse, it's obviously the heroes or the villains, and they are ruining it for the actual antagonist and his story. Because, like I said, every antagonist, every villain is the hero of their own story. It's just in reverse, right? Let's see. Jilted Lover. I love that. Yeah, the Jilted Lover. Oh, that would be a great villain. Or antagonist, right? Or opposition. The Jilted Lover, and the person's coming back to avenge you because you hurt them, and they're going to keep you from finding new love. I love that. That's awesome. Do I have a course on Hillman Talk? No, I don't. And this is a separate thing from Hillman Talk, so thank you for mentioning that, because I don't want you guys to ever be deceived by anything or think this is something it's not. This is not a Hillman Talk course. This is a course just to teach you on novel and story writing, and it's a separate entity. But you guys can definitely have your Hillman Talk courses and do what you do. Like, I'm never going to keep you guys from learning over there, because I think learning is a valuable and an important thing. So if you have Hillman Talk classes and they interrupt with this, don't worry. This will be recorded. You will have it. So don't feel like you have to like split your time between both, but it is separate from Hillman Talk. So yeah, I appreciate you asking that. Not a burner. My notes so far: blurb equals character conflict, goal, main character, keywords, and antagonist. Oh my gosh, you guys are awesome. You guys are taking this seriously. I love it. I'm giving you a cheer for that. That's awesome. You guys are so cool. I love it. She needs one for sure. I may. The only thing with Hillman Talk, this is the only reason why I didn't choose to do a course in Hillman Talk. They are actually making it into courses that you can take. And so here's the thing. I'm a professor by my day job. I already have commitments as a day job. And that's why I'm doing the structure a little differently than how you would do a regular class, because I don't want to ever give you guys like less than 100% of me. And if I do this like a real class, I feel like I can't commit to it as much as I would because of my day job as a professor. So that's why I'm not doing a full Hillman Talk class and things like that, because if I had time for it, I would definitely like take on the challenge, but I feel like it's not gonna work with my schedule for sure. Did you say there was a certain length? Yes, for the blurb, 100 words. So fiction, 100-word blurb, that is your assignment for this week. Hey, Bug-Eyed Nerd, it's so good to see you. Editing as I go or write without editing? Well, that's a good question. I highly recommend that you don't edit as you go. Because keep in mind, when you edit, you're taking on a different part of your brain that's impacting your creativity. So I always recommend writing first. I don't care how messy it is, how ugly it is, even if you mess up words, you mess up commas, you have no periods. I don't care how crazy it looks. Get it out first, let it sit, and then come back and edit it. Never edit while you go. And I will tell you, I'm a bad person at this too, because I'm an editor in my other job, so I get it. You're editing, you're like, oh, that's messed up. Rather than going and correcting everything, make notes or highlight areas that you think are bad or need to be corrected or need to be fixed, rather than changing them. Because what happens is, if you start editing as you go, now you're switching into editor mode, and now you're editing the whole thing and stopping your creative process, because it's a different side of your brain. It's an analytical side of your brain more than the creative side of your brain. So if you get into editor mode while you're creating, it's impacting what's coming out of you because you're stopping that flow of creativity. So I recommend getting the creative stuff out first and doing editing on a different day. Don't even try to do editing on the same day. Have a day for writing and a day for editing, because that way you can kind of make sure you're in that mode when you're going. So really good question. All right, awesome. Thank you guys for the follows. Hey, yeah, you made it to class. You're all here on time. I promise you. You're all here. Hey, Talana, good to see you. Thank you for the length clarification. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I'm just wondering because you have ideas right now. And don't stunt those ideas. Like, whatever ideas you have, write them down. That's the whole purpose of this course, guys. Don't let the assignments I give you stop you from other ideas. If you have inspiration to write something else in this class too, write that too. But just keep in mind from the assignments, I want you to stick to the core things in those assignments. And then if you have inspiration for other things, go on those inspirational paths. Take it where it leads you. I never want you guys to stop your inspiration. So do whatever connects to you, help you write more for sure. Doesn't matter if it's a short story or a novel. No, not at all. We're just doing the first chapter anyway. So the first chapter is a first chapter of a short story or first chapter of a novel. So it doesn't matter how long you guys want this story to be. It can be as long or as short as you want. You are all good. You get writer's block very bad, and then sometimes you lose the plot. So one thing I always recommend, don't write in chronological order, because that stunts writer's block the most. I'm telling you, writer's block comes so hard when we're trying to write in chronological order, because we're forcing ourselves to write in a structure that is not meant for our brain to handle, right? So don't write in chronological order. That's one thing I recommend for writer's block. 2, immerse yourself in the things you guys want to write. So if you decide you want to write an alien romance for this course, Read alien romances. Go on Netflix and find alien romances. Read graphic novels. People think graphic novels and comics are not reading. I think it's reading. It's reading, okay? Immerse yourself in every form that you possibly can when it comes to your genre until you feel like you are so full of creative energy. Now you can go to your story and use that creative energy to find your own story. Now, I'm not saying use these creative entities to like steal from, but you're using them as inspirational tools, so now you can come to your own brain and find your own stories because you're so full of the same energy from the same people that you're getting inspired from. And that's why I say immerse yourself in the stories that you want to tell, and that'll help you with your writer's block for sure. Thank you guys for the follows. I appreciate it, and thank you for the gifts too. You guys are so awesome. I appreciate you. Great lessons. Awesome. All right. I'm going to make sure let's get to all the comments before I go back, because I know I want to make sure I don't miss anything, because these comments roll so fast. You guys are always writing on here. Character conflict and story. Character conflict and story. Those are the three things you're focusing on that 100-word blurb. Your story is called Jim Crow, Americans as Minorities in 2082. Main character time travel from 2024. You know, that's interesting. Wow. Okay, so that's something that you would have to figure out when you're ready to do something like that, whether you're focusing on the time travel aspect or the future elements of it, or you're focusing on the racial aspects, because you're going to market those differently, right? Because you have so many elements in that story. So I would say figure out if the conflict is the time traveling, or is it the conflict of there still being racial divide in the future compared to racial divide now? So those are things that you have to ask yourself where the conflict's coming from, if that's what you're going to focus on. So I would just say that's an intense one to focus on. I more power to you, because I don't know if I could write something that intense, but I would say just focus on what the conflict is. Is it an external conflict of racism, or is it an internal conflict of finding belonging and finding a place for yourself where you feel equality, right? Because they're both different structures and different conflicts. And it may be both. Keep in mind, you guys can have more than one conflict. It doesn't have to be just one conflict the whole story. There can be multiple things with conflict, and that's why you have a really dynamic story, when you have multiple things coming at your character, and they're like, what the heck? I have to fight you, I have to fight you, I have to fight me. Like, I can't deal with all this craziness. And that's what makes a really dynamic story, because it's not just one central conflict. It's multiple things happening, and they have to figure out how to handle it and how to respond to it, because it's all impacting their goal, right? So that's what you want to look for sure. Let's see. Your professor taught you to write nonstop and edit after. It works well. Exactly. Because if you start editing while you're writing, you're influencing that writing process. So, amazing advice. Thanks. You're very welcome. I do offer mentorship. I do. And I recommend, if you want to have a mentorship with me, I require that you have a one-on-one with me first. And the same link that you guys found this, like Discord, you can go in there and see the actual one-on-one. There's half an hour and there's an hour. And the reason why the hour is a lot different price is because I focus more time and structure on you. So there's a reason why the half an hour and hour are not the same price if you double the half hour. So don't buy 2 half hours and make it an hour. They're different things for different reasons. The half an hour is you need a brief contact with me. Maybe you just need a few questions answered. Thank you guys for the gifts. And then the hour is more in depth. Maybe you need me to help you read something, help you go through something, and analyze something that you have. But I do have mentorship, but you have to do the consult with me first, because that way we make sure we're a good fit for each other. So if that's something you want to do, definitely contact me, let me know. I'm happy to help you guys. You're working on writing your debut novel and would love to learn more and to apply to your draft. Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely use this class for that. You're welcome to be a part of it. And again, I'll share the link if you guys want to be a part of it. Actually, no, you can go to the link in my bio now, because I updated it. So you go to the link in my bio, click the first link in my bio, go to the Storyteller's Tea Room. I updated the link, so it should give you the right link, because I updated the Discord link, and register for the course. And you guys are all welcome to be a part of it. Again, not a part of Hillman Talk, but we're still encouraging that, because it's still a learning structure that I recommend that you guys definitely go for if that's part of your learning structure this semester. So we're just a separate entity, but we're just learning and going into the writing process here. Is there a template for the chapter, or is this a freehand? There's no template for the blurb, but there is character and world building profiles in the Discord. So go to the resource channel and you'll see a character profile and you'll see a world building profile sheet. If you do those, I promise you that'll help you with your blurb, though, because if you know your character more and you know your world more, you can understand how to do your blurb a lot more concrete. So good question. There's not a template for the blurb, but there are templates for the character and the world building in there. Utilize those for sure. Hey, none of yours, you're writing your 3rd novel. That's awesome. Okay, you deserve a cheer for that. That's so cool. That's so awesome. Go you. Are we emailing our assignment? Sorry you had to jump out for our meeting. No, you're good. Okay, so here's how it's going. I'm not editing or analyzing or grading your actual assignment. I'm going to show you guys how to self-edit and analyze your own assignment, and then I'm actually going by your reflections done in the Discord. So each week I will have a discussion area where you'll reply to that discussion. Make sure you're not creating a new discussion forum. Reply to that week and use that as your entry for that week. In that week, I will go in there and I will interact with you guys in there and respond to your reflection, because you're reflecting on what you do this week. So as long as you do that, you will be fine. All right. You're working on a story or novel, trying to develop the story itself. That's awesome, Tammy. It's so cool. Okay, what's your opinion on separating those concepts across books? The meaning. I think that's fine. That's how you can make a series. If you're expanding the concepts on multiple books, that's when you can have multiple books for one character, or you can have multiple characters within the same world, and then you're expanding it across multiple books. That's how you start your series, right? So I think that's definitely fine. Go for it. One book, character development. Second book, conflict. Third book, story. Fourth book, fifth history. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so if you're doing it like that, the only thing about that is, keep in mind, every book needs to have conflict. So you can't wait till book 2 to add your conflict, because then you're not going to have anything for your character to work for. So if you're spreading it like that, that's not going to work as well. Each book you create needs to have its own conflict for your character. Now, each book may have different conflict, and maybe a different level of conflict. For example, let's say the person's trying to become queen, right? Maybe in the first book, it's about trying to win over the local people. Book 2 is about maybe discovering her own self-worth. Book 3, it's about maybe fighting the person already reigning so she can, fight for the position of being queen. Each level of the book is a different conflict she has to conquer to move on to the next level and be able to go through that conflict. So conflict can't be separated from your character. Your character needs conflict to be able to overcome that conflict and succeed at their goal. You can't write a book without conflict. Conflict is a must to be able to have a strong story. So you take the conflict out of the book, you just have an easy way for them to get to their goal. But your character has to fight hard for that goal. They have to fight like with everything in them. Whether it's physical fighting or emotional fighting, internal fighting, they're still fighting, right? So it doesn't always, when I say fight, it doesn't always have to be a battle. But it's some kind of war between themselves and another person, whether it's external battling or internal battling of them conquering something to move forward. So that conflict is definitely important. Okay, you really want to focus on time travel and racial impact. Okay, yeah, there you go. So if you know those are two things you want to focus on, that'll help you when you're ready to market and analyze your book and do your market research, because you have the travel elements, and you have the racial impact elements, and that'll help you be able to market your book better. That's why I was trying to bring that out of you, for sure. Let's bring the story together. Yeah, so I just think, don't think of conflict as a different book. Conflict needs to be in every single book you have, Book Editor, and you'll be good. Oh, thank you, Mercedes. I appreciate you. You're so awesome. Sounds amazing. Yeah, right? She's these are great story ideas. I love all of you following me and working in this class. And you all are already giving me my own inspiration. I'm just I need to go write after this. Hey, Tammy, you're working on a fantasy with mythical creatures with some human aspects. That's awesome. Keep in mind, no matter what creatures are in there, if they talk or interact with your characters in any way, they still have human emotions and human elements. So still keep that in mind, guys. No matter how inhuman your characters are, they're still human if they're interacting as a human, and your characters or your readers are reading them as if they would a human story. So they may not be actual humans, but keep in mind they still have human emotions, human feelings, human dialogue, human conversations. No matter what crazy, characters or species that you want to go for, they're still human at their core, because it's still a human story at the core of whatever you're writing. All right, so keep that in mind. Hey, just follow me. I'm glad you just found me. Discord, click the link in my bio, first link. And as soon as you go to that link, you should see the Storyteller's Tea Room. Click on there. I updated the link, so it shouldn't be a problem now. Earlier, people were getting errors, but you should be able to click that link and sign and join and be a part of it. So it's in there. All good. You wrote children's books for 25 years ago, and you're still sitting on it because you didn't know the next step. Don't let that stop you. I promise you. I told my story last night. I tell it all the time, how my mom passed, and it took 2 years for me to get back to writing. 2 whole years before I could write anything. And I mean anything. Outlining, whatever. Sometimes you need that time before you can tell that story. So don't feel like you wasted time because it took you 25 years. Now may be the time to tell a story. Maybe now is the time to publish it. So you guys are never too late to tell your story. Keep that in mind. Well, everybody's calling me on this phone. This is the first time I do it in the afternoon. Well, no, I've done the afternoon before, but everybody's calling me right now. I feel that your male character will not come across authentic. Ooh, okay. So this is something else we're going to talk about when we get into character. You guys are all getting ahead of us. Like, I want to make sure I have time to go over the questions. But so here's the thing. And this is something you'll hear that's going on in the writing community right now. There's like some drama going on where a lot of white authors are being told they don't write authentically of characters outside their race and things like that, and all these dramas that's going on. Here's the thing. We are not meant to be singular in just writing one type of character. If that was the case, I wouldn't write interracial romance. I write white characters, I write black characters, I write Asian characters, I write everyone, and I'm a black woman, right? So here's the thing. You can only create the character to the best of your knowledge. And this is why it helps to read other books and to see other books that have male voices. If you're writing another race, read other books of other races so you can kind of get a grasp on their culture and their identity, so you're not representing someone in the wrong way. Right? Because the main thing I think we have when we're writing people outside of our race or our gender or our culture is that we're going to misrepresent them, right? And we never want to misrepresent or give someone reason to doubt our authenticity or think that we're trying to be racist or try to be biased or any kind of thing like that, right? So this is what I would say. Whenever you guys are writing outside your race, your culture, your ability, whether it's disability or gender or anything like that, this is where beta readers are really helpful. Because don't just find any beta readers too. Actually find someone who may be in that scenario or from that culture or from that group or community and ask for their opinion. Say, hey, I'm writing this book on this disabled character. I would love to know if you think I'm representing this person well. Or I'm writing this person on this Indian character. I want to make sure that I'm not misrepresenting this character, right? So don't just have your beta readers be your regular readers. Actually try to find people who can be readers in that culture and experience so you can actually see if you're getting a genuine voice. So if you're worried you're not going to tell the male voice well, have a guy read your story and say, hey, do you feel like this character is coming off as a male character well, right? And now, don't just get anyone. Don't just get a random guy. Like, get someone that you actually trust and whose opinion you value and who can take value in your writing. They don't have to be your audience, but you're asking to see if your voice is coming off in the way that is meant to be masculine, right? Same thing for culture. Now, not saying you have to always go and get everyone's opinion on the culture, but if you're ever worried about that, I recommend getting a reader to be that person to say, hey, no, this doesn't seem like you're misrepresenting this race or this culture or this gender or this age or whatever it may be. And that can help you feel like you're more confident in telling that story. That way, when you publish it and someone comes at you and say, hey, I didn't like the way you wrote this male character. I don't know, I like the way you write this black character or whatever it may be. You can say, hey, I respect your opinion, but I did take the precautions that I felt that was necessary for me to tell the most genuine story I possibly can. No one can, I mean, people can fight you on that, but here's the thing. No one's going to always love you and love your work and love your writing. You're going to have people who don't like you, don't like what you stand for, don't like your, think you're, doing a misrepresentation of everything you write. They are not your audience. They are not your core reader. Now, even when you have an opposition, don't let that make you feel less than as a person. Because if you took the steps you need to take to make a genuine story, you were as authentic as you could be, not trying to be stereotypical in your characters, not trying to make them seem as comical characters, then you did what you need to do to create a genuine character and a genuine experience. That's how I have to say on that. Because a lot of times, I think as a black author too, I don't ever want to tell someone who's not black that they can't write my story, right? Like, I'm writing stories of white characters and other characters and other races, so who am I to tell you you can't write a black character? But it's good to have someone in the community or in the gender or in the actual group that you are writing about to at least read it first, as they call it a sensitivity reader. They're making sure you're writing for the audience and you're not offending the audience or the culture you're trying to write about. So think about having at least one or two sensitivity readers. If you guys are writing outside of your spectrum, you're not used to a certain culture, you want to make sure you give representation and respect to that culture or that gender or that group. Have a sensitivity reader to make sure you're doing your due diligence. That way, if someone comes at you later on when it's published, you can say, hey, you know what? I respect your opinion. And that's why I had a sensitivity reader. That's why I had someone to read it to make sure I wasn't misrepresenting someone or a group. And although you didn't like it, I appreciate your opinion, but I do think that I did the best of my ability to make sure that it didn't happen. That way you can be as honest as you can when it comes to something like that, and you guys feel like you can interact with someone like that for sure. So that's my opinion on that. And you guys don't have to agree with that at all. So I just want to make sure that you guys know my opinions do not have to be your opinions. I tell you my perspective as an author, as a teacher, as an instructor, and I tell you that so you can understand where I'm coming from. And then that way you can figure out where you stand on your opinions, and then you can figure out where you come from as an author too. But you never have to agree with me on everything or see my perspective on anything. That defeats the purpose of us being different and being a diverse group of people, right? Instead, just respect each other's opinions and viewpoints, and then if you respect your characters as well, your readers can not like that or like that, but you can at least have a grounding support to say, look, I respect my characters, I respect who they are, and I did the best I could in the circumstances, taking the precautions that I did. So, your daughter and you just finished a story today. Oh, that's so cool. Good for you, Sherry. That's so awesome. I like personification. Yeah, personification can work too, because keep in mind, personification is basically putting human emotions on non-human things. Not just non-human objects, not just like objects for like, you know, hey, this book is a he or she, or this is a person and has emotions, right? Yes, it's personification, but personification can go into giving non-human creatures things too. Like if you write a children's book with animals and the animals talk, that's personification, right? So personification can really work in anything by making something non-human have human feelings and human emotions. You're working on a novel with mythical creatures, but in urban environments. I love that, Lee. I'm just cheering all you guys on your creativity. You guys are all bringing the creative stories. I love it. This is so cool. I'm so proud of all you guys because you're just bringing it. Let's see. You're very welcome. There's so much information out there and it gets so confusing and overwhelming. That's so true, Jen. And that's the thing. You have to decide what's good for you. That's why I said I'll give you guys the tools. I'll give you guys the elements to help you with writing. You need to pick and choose what works for you. It won't be everything. Like everything I give you won't work for you. But you need to find what works for you. And this is kind of your journey as a writer too. Finding what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So you got to be able to discern what's working for you and what's not working for you in your writing, in your marketing, in your promotions, whether you go traditional or, self-publish. There is no right way to do this business or to do writing. There's no such thing as right. It's about what works for you and works for your ability as an author and your journey as an author. And that's what you should do for sure. I know, Rel, we got the viewership today. You guys are really showing up. I'm so proud of you guys. You guys are awesome. You two are more international than just urban. That's so cool. I love that you guys, as a person that did my thesis on mythological characters from the Trojan War, I love when you guys talk about mythology and stuff like that. It's so cool. You love writing? Awesome! I'm so glad. You have your story in your childhood. Could you use that? Yeah, for sure. I mean, keep in mind, you got to decide whether you're going to do the fiction version of your childhood or the nonfiction. If it's nonfiction, you're going to stay true to your actual experiences and write your story like a biography or a memoir. If you're going to do fiction, it's putting yourself in a fictional character, but using your real experiences to put in that character. So that's the only difference. You can choose either one you want, for sure. Both work. You're very welcome, SMB. And I'm sorry I don't know why they blocked that comment. But yeah, I like to at least explain the racial commentary that I see. I think we're all allowed to tell the stories we're meant to tell. I don't think you should ever feel like you should hinder yourself and say, oh, I can't write a black character, or I can't write a white character, or I can't write a disabled character, or a character on the spectrum. You can write that character, but be genuine about it. Make sure you're not making that character a humorous character or making fun of them. That's mainly where the issue comes. It's not about that you're writing a character outside your race or outside of what you know. It's about someone saw something offensive in what you wrote and it hit home to them and it bothered them, right? So whether they thought you were trying to make fun of them intentionally or not intentionally, that's what hits the nerve, right? So as long as you have a sensitivity reader, you have someone who you can trust their viewpoint on you giving true representation to that character, you guys should be fine. All right? Don't worry about people coming after you. There will be people that come at you. That's what happens in this business. It happens because some people don't like your writing. They don't like you. Some people are just having a bad day and they take it out on you. It happens. Don't let that impact your core reason for writing. If you know you were genuine, you know you did the best you could, you know who you are as a person, as a writer. Don't ever let anybody take that away from you guys. I promise you. Hey Wendy, good to see you. I don't teach screenwriting. I have taught screenwriting in the past, so I know about it. I know the formatting and everything, but I don't have a course on it right now or anything. Would it be fiction or nonfiction if you choose to write about your childhood experience? Yeah, so just what I mentioned. Choose which one. It depends. If you're staying true to what it really happens, what really was said, it's nonfiction. If you're playing around and kind of like adding to it, enhancing it in any way, you need to go the fiction route because it's going away from nonfiction and the truth. That's what's going to distinguish fiction from nonfiction. Working on a love story between a character of life and death. Oh, that's awesome, Stephanie. That's so cool. You guys have some cool ideas. I love you guys. It's so close. Your first black... I'm sorry, you're not black. I'm talking about race so much. I see black. It's your first book. I'm sorry. Your first book has a small conflict in the beginning to bring the two main characters together, but no additional conflict. So I would say if that's the case, ask yourself, because keep in mind when you're writing romance or something like that, something has to keep them from getting to the ultimate goal of being together in the end, right? Whether it's an ex, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a mother-in-law or, sister, or maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's the elements keeping them from each other and like an earthquake and they can't get to each other. Something has to keep them away from each other. And it may be their own insecurities. Maybe they're in a relationship and they can't really trust each other because they have their own insecurities and their own internal downfalls and things that they have to ever be a true relationship. And they have to conquer that first before they can truly be together. So your conflict doesn't always have to be external conflict. It can be internal conflict of them working on each other and working to be a better person. He's a serial cheater. Maybe he's working on himself so he can figure out why he's always cheating on her and hurting her. If she doesn't like her body and every time they have an intimate moment, she feels like she has to cover up, maybe she has to work on building her insecurities. So the conflict doesn't ever have to just be external. And actually, like I said, the more dynamic your story is because you have both internal and external conflict working against your character. They both come together and work against them, and sometimes multiple things at once, and that can make your story dynamic. Moving my picture around. Okay, let me do this. All right. The second book will have a bigger conflict. So, and keep in mind, it doesn't have to be huge conflicts. It can be like too many conflicts, but those conflicts are still important because they're keeping that character from getting their goal. Conflict needs to happen no matter what to keep your character from reaching their goal. Now, not saying they will never reach it, but something has to oppose them to keep them from working towards getting to that ultimate end. If they get it easily, you just gave the whole thing away and they didn't work for it. The whole reason we follow a character is because they have to go through Mordor and they have to go through the city of trolls or whatever it may be. I'm just making, I know I put Mordor out there, but I wasn't trying to use Mordor as an example. But I'm just saying you go through all these obstacles and you get to the end and you're like, oh my God, I made it. And it's kind of like a relief because you finally have gotten to your ultimate reward, your ultimate thing that you've gotten because you went through all that craziness, all that insanity, and now you've finally gotten this prize, whatever that prize may be. Maybe it's not an actual physical prize. Maybe it's just getting validation or getting, their parents to like them or getting someone to respect them and love them back, right? That can be the goal. It doesn't have to be a physical thing that they actually win. But whatever it is, they have to go through that conflict, and that's really important. Evening, Red. How are you? How do you keep from making the Force a crutch for the character that is favored by them? Let's see. The Force a crutch for the character that's favored by them. So you mean making them use the conflict as I'm using this conflict as a reason to continue? Is that what you mean? Let me know what you mean by crutch, TC. And did you mean crutch or crush? I just want to make sure. But if it's a crutch, and the conflict is a force as a crutch, then it's like they're using the conflict as an excuse, saying, oh, I can't win this battle because we're going to lose the battle anyway. What's the point of fighting this battle because we're going to win it? They're using it as kind of like an excuse to be like, oh, there's no point in fighting or no point in fighting for that end. If that's what you mean, then I would say that is definitely an internal struggle they're going through to reach the conflict that they have to face. So then it's all about them conquering their own inner demons first before they can even fight the outer demons, right? So if they're using anything as a crutch, anything with the word crutch in it or some kind of emotional attachment to something, that is an internal or emotional conflict because they're using something in a way that they shouldn't be using it that's holding them back. So that is definitely an emotional conflict for sure. Do I have these chats every Wednesday? Yes, I do. Well, I will now because this is considered class. So you're now in class session. How you put your childhood in any way that you can inspire moms to go after their goals, they can do. So I would say ask yourself what the ultimate goal of your book is. Is it to give them like steps? Like, here are steps to conquering the childhood issues of your past so you can be a better mom, right? Then these are the 7 steps of that. Or if you're just writing a memoir, the memoir should be an inspirational tool to inspire moms on its own. So it's really about how you want to approach it. You give a step guidebook or an advice book to show these are also memoirs or little moments of my story or my experiences. But in between, you're also going to get exercises and steps to help you actually conquer whatever you need to conquer so you can do what I did and overcome these fears and overcome these challenges so you can succeed in your life. That's basically the difference. The memoir is telling a story. They're still learning and inspiration from it, but there's no steps involved. When you're doing steps, you're actually giving them a guidebook with your stories to say these are ways that you can conquer that fear or overcome those challenges. You want it to be about what you went through and go through your success with them and let them know they can do it too, no matter what. Then you definitely probably want to do the steps. I would say come up with like 7 steps. And it doesn't have to be 7. It can be 5, it can be 8, it can be 20. But come up with a certain pathway of what that you did and put that into actionable steps or concrete actions they can do, and put that in your book when you're writing about your stories, and use those stories to mention each step. So each step will connect to a story that you tell. And that step will go into, now here's how you can do this. Here's things that you can do and activities you can do to conquer this too. That's what I would recommend. Do I use any writing software? And if so, what do I suggest? I don't use anything but Word. Word is what I use. There's other software that you can use, but this is a thing. This is a personal choice. If you feel like getting software is going to help you be a better and stronger writer, go for it. For me, I just use Word and my notepad on my phone, things like that. That's what I do. You've been told since you were a kid you should write a book about your life. Maybe now's the time. Absolutely, absolutely. The Romance Writer Planner opens, but it's only the cover. Oh, okay. Double check. If you still have issues, write me, email me. I'll send you another copy of it. If for some reason you're just getting the cover. Check your email too, because it's supposed to send you, not only do you download it as soon as you get it, but you should get it by email too. If for some reason you still don't get the file, let me know. I'll email you the file. Joy. Just let me know. TT, you're sorry you're at work, you're typing fast. Don't worry, you're good. You thought the class was on Discord, you was looking for you there. Oh, the actual content is in Discord. The classes will be here live on TikTok. 3 p.m. Wednesdays, 4 p.m. Sundays. So actual class will be on here. Don't worry, if you missed it, don't worry. I'll be putting the replays in there as well. So don't worry, you didn't miss anything, you're fine. Hey, Shatima, dealing with narcissistic mother and narcissistic baby father, being touched as a kid, and you're here. Oh my gosh, that's a lot of traumatic stuff. Well, I appreciate you being here, and you can still tell your story. Same thing I just mentioned. If you're telling a story like a traumatic experience like that, like abuse or addiction or anything like that, ask yourself, do you want to tell your memoir and have people learn from you that way? What am I hearing? Okay, I keep hearing noises. Sorry. There's some weird stuff happening around me. If you want to tell your story that way, or if you want to give them steps to help them become better, that will help you and decide which path to do. And I think either way you'll be good. When writing multiple characters, how do you keep the story different but in tune? I would say do character profiles. Character profiles will help you distinguish which character is which, their backgrounds, their history. That way when they talk and they do dialogue, you know that they wouldn't or would say something because you know the background of that character for sure. You've been sitting on a novel since 2018. No worries. Now's the time to publish it. Don't sit on it anymore. You sat on it long enough for sure. You hear you want them to know that no matter what you've been through, you can live your dream life. Exactly. So if you know that and you know you want to be an inspiration, want to be an inspirational book, I would recommend the steps version over the memoir. The reason why is because now you can give inspiration and give them actual key things to do to put their life on track and things like that. How many books should you have ready to publish when you're starting out? I don't think you should have a certain number of books, but I do recommend, I always tell people it's good to start with short stories and short novellas first, because you can release them quicker and build your audience faster. So rather than worrying about having like 5 ready to go, kind of build yourself up by writing short stories and short content first, because now you're building up your catalog, you're building up your search. Now, some people who rapid release will do that. They'll wait to have all 5 books in a series done before they release the first book. That way they at least have the rest of the ones ready to go so they can rapid release. That's something that happens too, but that's a different thing. A different time. I don't want you guys to think about rapid releases right now. Okay, so let me finish this so we can wrap up, because I wanted to get off here by 5, so I wanted to make sure I give you all the information, guys. Great questions, by the way, not bad questions at all. All right, so 100 words for you fiction authors. All right, for nonfiction writers, you need to write a reader avatar that describes your ideal audience and how they view your topic. All right, so what I'm going to be doing probably between now and Friday, it'll either be, let's see, tomorrow's Thursday, right? So it'll either be tomorrow afternoon or Friday afternoon when I come on live. Not class, but just so you guys can see. I'll show you how to use ChatGPT or AI to create a reader avatar. And this is what I mean by using AI ethically and effectively and not using it for writing. You can use it to create your reader avatar. Now, those of you in fiction and poetry, you can do the same thing too. Although I have this for nonfiction authors, you should know who your reader is too, who your audience is. So you can do your reader avatar. So what I mean by that is you need to know who your core reader is. So go and do some research. Who are your main buyers? Are they women? Are they men? Are they in their 40s or their 20s to their 50s? Who are your demographic audience? Know who the core is, because if you're doing nonfiction, here's the difference. Your nonfiction audience, you're targeting a certain group to reach and inspire and motivate. With fiction, yes, you still have a core demographic, but anyone can read it and still enjoy it. When it comes to nonfiction, you're hitting a certain group of people because that's the people you want to motivate and influence and inspire. So this is why I'm having you guys do your actual reader avatar first, because if you're doing nonfiction, you want to do something that's motivational and inspirational on a level to help people. So if that's the case, you need to know your reader avatar before you even think about your book summary, all right? So that's what your exercise is, for sure. Viewer Chuck Tingle, you love the headband. I appreciate you, go big. Get so much mixed advice using AI. Exactly. And this is what I say. I'm not going to force you guys to ever use AI. You can make the choice saying, hey, I'm not ever touching it. I don't like it. I'm scared of it. I'm never going to judge you guys for that. But I will show you on here how to use it effectively so you don't have to compromise your integrity, compromise your storytelling, or compromise your actual intellectual property using AI. So I'm never going to tell you, take your whole document and put in AI and let it edit. I'm never going to tell you guys to do that. If you've done it, you've done it already, but I'm going to recommend that you don't do that in the future, because if you're going to traditionally publish or things like that, a lot of traditional publishers don't want you to use AI with your intellectual property and your content. So I recommend not putting your actual content in AI, but using AI more effectively to help you become a productive author on the back end. Because remember I said, this is a business. Yes, you're creative and you're creating creative content, but this is also a business because you want to sell your books. So if you want to sell your books, you have to look at it from a business perspective. That's why your reader avatar is so important. So for those of you doing the reader avatar, over the next couple of days, I'm going to show you how to actually do that properly and effectively using AI. All right, so if you're like, I don't know what to do with reader avatar, what is that? I'm going to actually show you. So that's why I said we have class on Wednesdays, but if you come to my other lives during the week, you'll see different aspects of doing that. Now, I'll be recording that, so what I may do is, so you guys have that in the chat, I may actually record that session when I do the ChatGPT example, so you can see an example of how to utilize it if you're not on that live, and you can still have that. So don't worry if you don't be on the live, you'll be fine. I'll make sure you guys have an example. I may even do a separate recording so you can see how to do it and see it effectively. So I'll figure out how to do it so you guys can get access to it. Yeah, you're using it for research purposes. Okay, exactly. I mean, and like I said, you guys are more than welcome to have different opinions on using AI, using any tools that I recommend. I'm never going to say you must use this, or you're going to go obsolete, or you're going to ruin yourself as a writer if you don't use AI. Oh my gosh, that's so horrible. Instead, I just want you to see what's available to you, that those of you who want to use it, you can see how to use it effectively and not worry about it influencing your writing. Because I'm never going to say use it to write your book. Oh my gosh, no, because I want you to write your book. I want your voice to come out in your book. I want your storytelling to be the genuine storytelling you put in your book. So I'm never going to tell you have AI write your stories for you. So I'm never going to show you that, because I don't want you to do that. I want you to write genuinely from your heart, the way that you're meant to write, in your voice, in your perspective, and in your way. So, let's see. You use AI on single sentences that you're really struggling to word. Is that even okay? And get mixed reviews on that one. I would just be careful with that, because it depends. Now, if you're self-publishing, I'm not going to say it's going to be horrible, but if you're hoping to eventually traditional publish or do anything in that space, I wouldn't even put full sentences in there, just because I want you to be cautious. I don't want to tell you yes and it messes you up, right? And I'm still learning AI myself. I don't know everything about AI. I can't tell you, yes, AI will do this or AI does this. Like, I can't even tell you that because I'm not that proficient in it. I'm just using it as a tool right now. But I don't want you to ever put your creative intellectual property, like your sentences, your paragraphs, your whole sections or chapters in there, and it uses it in the wrong way to learn how to use AI, and it takes your content and uses it in a way that you don't want it to use it. So because we're just learning AI, and AI has been around for a while, but it's just been more recently accessible to us as a public, right? So because of that, I think it's important to know how it's being used if you're ever going to do it. So before you put it in there, do research on what people have said. Like, does it copy your material? Is it safe to put it in there? I would do your research first. Don't take my advice. Do your own research first before you do anything like that. Because I'm going to highly recommend you not do that. But if you feel like you're going to do sentences like that, I would just research it to see how it's using your content and using material. I would never put things like my characters' names in there. They're unique names that I created myself. I don't want people to use my names. I want to have my own unique names, right? So that's why I said when intellectual property you're using, I wouldn't want to give it too much intellectual property so it can take bulks of that and use it in different ways. So I would just recommend that. You only use your notes. You've had to edit, but that's as far as you went. You got nervous. Oh, don't worry. Don't get nervous. I mean, we all get nervous about it too. Don't worry. Don't let that stop you. Like, when you guys get nervous, you get insecure about your writing, you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure if this is good. Take a breath. Take a breather. You're still learning. You're still growing. You're still doing it. You're still creating the content, right? So don't ever let that fear stop you from ever stop writing ever again. Instead, embrace the fear, say, hey, I'm nervous about this, I'm not really comfortable with this, and then dig into it and say, hey, the overall goal of this is getting this out here so I can grow my audience and grow my readers and have them either grow from my work, find solace in my work, find comfort in my work. That's the overall goal. That's more important than my fear or insecurities when it comes to writing. So if you can do that, I think that helps for sure. Reviews. Let's see. Oh, you get mixed reviews. Oh, I got you. No worries. Yeah, mixed reviews will always be for AI. I don't think AI will ever be a place where all authors agree. Same thing with illustrators. Some illustrators hate AI. Some illustrators love AI because it helps enhance what they do well. It's not that they use AI and only use AI, but they can use it to enhance things that they do, right? So I don't think AI is necessarily a bad thing. I think people can use it in bad ways. It's all in the eyes of the beholder, right? I think it's just like any tool. Any tool could be used for good or bad. It's really about the person who's using the tool. It's not the tool itself that's bad. It's how people are using the tool. If you think about it that way, it's really not really a bad or good thing. It's more like how people are utilizing it. No worries, Tina. So let me go over the homework one more time. You're good. Let me finish it so you guys can know. All right, so fiction, you're writing 100-word summary of the novel idea, focusing on the character, the conflict, and the stakes. So the stakes are the story. What's at risk? What is at risk for your character? All right, so the character, the conflict, and the stakes. Stakes means what do they have to lose? Their life, their family, their friends, their security. There's always a risk when they try to go for something more at the end. So what are their stakes? All right. Nonfiction, you're writing a reader avatar that describes your ideal audience and how they view your topic. So if your ideal, like, and keep in mind, you don't need AI to do this. If you know you're a mom and you're writing for fellow moms, say I'm writing for moms age 20 to 45, or single moms age 20 to 45 who live in urban areas and who have at least 1 to 2 kids, right? You know your avatar. Right? So don't feel like you have to do AI to do your avatar. Your avatar is knowing who you want to buy your book. And it's not all moms. It can't be all moms because all moms are so many different moms out there. So you need to know who your moms. It's single moms. Single moms are a different demographic than moms who are in whole families. Moms who are 20 to 45 are different than moms who are in their 60s who have kids in college and who are kids who are like in, full careers and stuff like that. They're still moms, but they're not in the age where they're like, raising kids now, right? So if you're aiming for an age demographic, then that's going to put parents in a certain level of kids in that age range. Kids who are still growing, right? Even 40-year-olds still have kids and still in school, right? So when I say avatar, focus on who you're trying to help and why you're trying to help them. So you don't need the AI experience to do that. You should know who your reader is because you were in that situation. How old were you when you went to that situation? What did you go through? Where were you in your space? Were you a mom? Were you not a mom? Were you in college? All of that will help dictate who you're trying to reach because you're trying to inform or help someone who was in your space that you were in, but you've overcome it, so you're trying to help them. So that's what I mean by knowing who your reader avatar is, who you're trying to reach and who you're trying to help. For poetry, you are going to write a free verse poem inspired by a vivid memory. Now, keep in mind, free verse means you're not going to rhyme, no end rhyme, no like meter. Free verse means you're writing it as if you were writing a paragraph almost, but it's poetry, right? So write it as if you're writing a vivid memory, but you're using poetical language and wording to create that image, all right? So if you're not sure how free verse looks, type in free verse poetry so you guys can see what free verse looks like. And I know some of you may not know that, and that's fine, but type in free verse examples so you can see examples of free verse poetry and see what free verse should look like. Free verse is usually not rhyming or doing a certain meter or certain structure. You're just focusing on the experience and the emotional entity and emotional impact. So those of you who are poets, that's what I want you to focus on. Focus on the emotional impact first. Don't worry about rhyming structure or non-rhyming or internal rhyme or, assonance, consonants, those things like that. None of that's important right now. I want you to just create a poem in free verse using a vivid memory of yours. And you can choose that memory. It can be a memory in the past when you were a kid, a memory from yesterday of you at the store. Any memory you want, just focus on a vivid memory that you can write about clearly and with full description, and that's what you're going to be doing for your assignment. All right. So those are the 3 assignments for fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. So hopefully you guys got the clear of what you got to do. Yes, Shanice, exactly. You can turn off train your model and that'll help too. But some people have been saying like even that is not trustworthy. That's why I say I'm not going to ever recommend that you put your stuff in there still, even if you turn off train your model. And what that means, guys, is you go in the privacy settings pretty much if you're in ChatGPT or any system. You go in the settings and you say you don't want AI to use your content to train AI to use AI. So you don't want it to use your content to train other AI systems. Now that can help, and that can help with privacy too. But there's been discussions on whether that really is effective, so that's why I'm still never gonna be like, yeah, put your work in there. But yeah, that's a good point, Janice, for sure. You can definitely turn off the training so it doesn't copy your information. Good. Shatima, single black moms, age 24 to 35 with kids, newborn to 13. Awesome. So you already got your reader avatar. So that's what your answer will be when you do it. Now, actually, you can go as deep as you want. You can say they need to live in urban areas. You can say they have to have an income of maybe 20 to like 45,000. Like, go as deep as you want with that avatar. It doesn't just have to be that, but that is a good start. That is what I want you guys to do. Exactly. That's what your reader avatar should be, because that's what your core audience and demographic is going to be when it comes to your nonfiction. So that's what I want you guys to focus on. All right. So that is your homework for today. I know we went over a lot and I was answering questions in between, but your homework is those 3 things that I mentioned, depending on your fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. So do you guys have any other questions before I get off here? Because I want to make sure I get off here about 5, but I wanted to make sure you guys got the clear idea. Oh, and one other last thing, I almost forgot. I didn't do a discussion. So discussion question for this week is, what inspired you to start writing? Share a story, a moment, or a person that sparked your passion for storytelling. So you're not going to use your analysis of your writing this week. It's just mainly what sparked your story, because this whole week is about sparking your idea. Every assignment you guys are doing in those 3 areas, nonfiction, fiction, and poetry, is sparking your creativity for the idea. So that's what this week is all about. Sparking and starting that idea that's going to be the start of a storytelling experience for you and for your reader. So it's definitely a journey for both of you, for sure. You're very welcome. You're very welcome, for sure. Where can we locate the homework on Discord? So in Discord, go on the left. Make sure you expand the channels, because there's multiple channels. So make sure you can expand the channels so you see all the channels there. And then you'll see Novel and Story Writing 101. Go in there. The first post is your syllabus. The second post is your first discussion that's due this Sunday night. All right, and that's how you're going to be graded for this class. Your discussion and your analysis and analyzing your experience. So this first one isn't even about your actual content. It's actually about your own storytelling start and your first inspiration. So if you want to start that, you could post it, because you don't necessarily have to have done the assignment first for this one. But every other discussion post is going to be related to what you went through with your assignment and what you wrote about. So just keep that in mind, for sure. You're very welcome. I'm glad you found me too. I'm glad to have all of you in class. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for being a part of the class. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for participating and communicating in the chat, being interactive. That's what I want this class to be. I want it to be a very interactive and engaging class for you, so you not only learn from me, but you learn from each other, because you guys are learning from each other too, and that's a great learning environment. I never want it to be just a one-way learning experience, and I hope to learn from you guys too. Like I said, I hope it to be a really productive learning experience. You're very welcome. Yeah, laptop. I highly recommend laptop. I like the laptop on my Discord more than I do the actual app. Thank you for the heart me, Red. I appreciate it. So if you guys have any questions, don't worry. I'm not gone. You can go on the Discord. There is there's an area where you guys can go in for questions in there too. You can go in there. Don't ask your questions in the actual story and novel telling one. Actually go into the questions or help and fact section and things like that. That's the place to ask if you guys have a question. Or you can direct message me too. So you can message me here on TikTok or in the Discord. I don't mind either one. So I'm there for you. I'm here for you. You are not alone in this. Take your time. Enjoy the process. Don't think of it as a grading experience because you're not being graded on your writing. You're being graded on your reflecting of that writing. So that's what I want you guys to know. It's not about your writing, how good it is, how bad it is. It's about the journey getting there to tell the best story you possibly can. So, can you still join in Discord if you haven't joined? Yeah, for sure. Just click the link in my bio up there, and the first link in the bio is going to take you to my beacons, and you'll see the Storytellers Tea Room. So it's not too late to join. If you guys haven't joined, link in the bio, click that link, join it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to email everyone who joined on that list. So if for some reason you didn't get the link, I'm going to email you guys the link again because they made me change the link one more time. So I'm going to email everyone the updated link to the Discord just in case you didn't get in. So, yeah, click the link in my bio, first link in there. It's free to join. There's an upsell there if you want to buy that world building and character Bible there, but that is not required to join. You don't have to buy that. It's a free community. You do not have to pay to join. So you're all good. Thank you guys for the gifts. Thank you for the support. And thank you for the likes, too. You guys have been liking the heck out of this live. So I appreciate you guys for the likes. And I hope your fingers get a break. I appreciate you guys so much. And I hope to see you inside the Discord. So I hope you guys have a great day. Have a great experience. And I will talk to you soon. Again, the next full session of class is going to be Sunday at 4. But I will be live the next few days, too. So if you catch me live and you have questions, feel free to jump on live and ask me questions, too. You're not limited to just come to those 2 lives. Come to any live you see me on, and you're welcome to come on. I'll be on tomorrow afternoon as well, and probably Friday evening as well. So I will be here, guys. No worries. I'm not going anywhere. You have me as a resource, and I'm here to help you along the way. So you guys have a good one. Have a good rest of your day, and hopefully you followed me too. If you haven't followed me, be sure to follow me, and I'll see you guys on the next live. You have a great one, guys. Take care. Bye, and welcome to class. By the way, that's a cheer. Welcome to class, guys. Take care. Bye.